Let's talk about diabetes. It's a word we hear all the time, right? But what's actually happening inside our bodies when things go wrong? Today, we're going to break it all down.
To really get a handle on diabetes, you first have to understand just how massive this challenge is. The numbers are, well, they're pretty staggering. This isn't just a personal health thing, it's a huge national issue.
Get this. Back in 2021, 38.4 million Americans had diabetes. That is over 11% of the entire country. To put that into perspective for you, that's like if every single person living in California was dealing with the exact same chronic condition.
And the cost? Wow, it's just as massive. In 2022, the total annual price tag for diagnosed diabetes in the U.S. hit $413 billion. And that number, it covers everything: medical bills, lost work, you name it. It's an enormous financial burden on top of the physical one.
Now this number right here, this is the one that should be a huge warning bell. Almost 98 million American adults have prediabetes. That means their blood sugar is already higher than it should be, and they're on the direct path to developing type 2 diabetes. This is a critical fork in the road, and it's where that $413 billion cost could just absolutely explode.
Okay, so those are the big population-level numbers. But what does any of this mean for you on a cellular level? Let's zoom way in and look at how our body's fuel system is supposed to work and, where it all breaks down.
The hero of this whole story is a hormone called insulin. And honestly, the best way to think about insulin is like a key. See, after you eat, sugar from your food gets into your bloodstream. But it can't just barge into your cells to be used as energy. Nope. It needs insulin to unlock the door first.
When it's working right, it's this really elegant and super efficient process. You eat, your food breaks down into glucose, and that glucose goes into your bloodstream. That's the signal for your pancreas to release insulin, the keys. Those keys then travel around, find the locks on your muscle and fat cells, and open the door so the glucose can get inside and be used for energy. It's a perfect system.
Okay, now here's where things can get a little confusing for people. The single name diabetes actually covers two pretty different conditions. So let's clear this up and break down the crucial difference between type 1 and type 2. So here's the main takeaway. In type 1 diabetes, the body's own immune system makes a mistake. It attacks and destroys the very cells in the pancreas that make insulin. It's an autoimmune thing. So think of it as having no keys at all. The key-making factory is just gone. People with type 1 absolutely must take insulin to live. Now, with type 2 diabetes, it's different. The body either doesn't use its insulin properly, that's called insulin resistance, or it just can't make enough to keep up with what the body needs. This is like having broken keys. The keys are there, but they don't fit in the locks very well.
And while both types are definitely serious, it is so important to understand that type 2 is by far the most common. It accounts for up to 95% of all cases. This is the type that's most closely linked with those 97.6 million Americans we mentioned who have prediabetes.
So you might be thinking, okay, what's the big deal if the sugar just stays in the blood? Well, when those cell doors don't open, sugar starts to build up in the bloodstream. And over time, that high sugar environment becomes, well, kind of toxic to the body.
So what are the consequences of having all that extra sugar just hanging out in your blood? The damage, it happens all through your circulatory system, from your biggest arteries all the way down to the tiniest little blood vessels you have. Over the long haul, high blood sugar starts to damage those blood vessels. When it damages the tiny ones, that's microvascular damage, it can lead to really serious problems with your eyes, your kidneys, and your nerves. And when it damages the big vessels, macrovascular damage, it dramatically increases your risk for a heart attack or a stroke, and that is why getting it under control is so critical.
But here is the good news, okay? While diabetes is a really serious condition, it is also a manageable one. There's a well-established toolkit out there that really empowers people to take back control of their health. Success here isn't about some single magic bullet. It's really about a consistent, combined effort. Think of it like a strategy with a few key parts: what you eat, how much you move, how you track your numbers, and the medical support you get from your doctor. All of these pillars work together to keep things in balance. So, what does good control even look like? Well, for most adults with diabetes, the American Diabetes Association recommends aiming for an A1C level below 7%. The A1C test is basically like a report card. It gives you a picture of your average blood sugar over the last 2 or 3 months. Hitting that target significantly lowers the risk of all those long-term problems.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. Remember those 97 million people with prediabetes? That's the critical moment, the stage where this condition is often reversible. So we'll just leave you with this question. Knowing the risks and knowing the tools you have to take control, what's one small step you can take for your own health? Thanks for joining us.